cities and received his PhD from the University of Free State. He was postdoc research assistant in the Imperial College London and spent a sabbatical at Cambridge University. His research group, in collaboration with Fabaceae, received the NSFTF Award for Innovation for the synthesis of thermal standard and development of the novel bioanalytical method. His current research includes the chemistry and the composition of flavonol and commercial procyanine and cyanine and extract, the discovery of a novel bioactive molecule from Africa plant, and their potential for new drug. He collaborated to multidisciplinary EU-funded 7th framework program. Please.
Thank you. Firstly, my gratitude towards the organizing committee for inviting me. It's a privilege for me to be in Beijing to give this talk, and also for your attending this lecture. I'm from Bloemfontein in South Africa, which is in central South Africa. It's about halfway between Cape Town and Johannesburg. And as you've seen, I'm basically an organic chemist, not really a properly qualified phytochemist. I also did some synthesis, but we try our best in terms of natural products. South Africa has got more than 20,000 plant species. So we have got many plants to look at, and also the use of our plants are extensively used for medicinal purposes, but these are not recorded in writing. So that some people say that's an advantage in terms of intellectual property. And we, in this project, we look particularly at the seeds because they haven't been properly investigated. So we collected a variety of seeds. Why is this not? What's going on? A variety of seeds, and we chose this brachypetala. The last one, sorry. This one, as the most promising. Sort of. There you can see some of the activities in terms of the antibacterial activity, the crude extract. This is the radical scavenging assay that we do on TLC, and we saw some of the spots disappear, some antiplasmodial activity, and no inhibition of choline esterase. This is a tree that grows in the low veld, sort of subtropical area. This is just a flower for the show. And this is what we actually investigated. We looked at the aril. This is the aril. This is the seed pod, and the aril, which is a definition of, I haven't got a definition of an aril. Yeah, it's a specialized outgrowth from the attachment point of the seed. Some of these things are used as spices in some plants. As I've said, some examples of traditional use, the bark especially, and also the seeds can be eaten. What we followed is a semi-bio-guided isolation strategy. In other words, the fraction, we selected a very promising fraction, and then from that fraction we isolated pure compounds, and then we tested the pure compounds. This is HPLC, and the compounds we isolated are 1 from 7, and this is their position on HPLC. Of course, it was afterwards identified. Our primary chromatography procedure was countercurrent chromatography. It's very useful for very polar compounds, and it's possible to to pump two fluids in the same tube in opposite direction by using forces, spinning forces. And there are various advantages. There's virtually no decomposition. You can recover everything you put in. And also the scaling up is normally not a big problem. This is what it looks like. This, instead of putting your column in there, your normal silica gel or reverse phase, you just put your HPL, your countercurrent equipment there. Still got your pump. Generates a lot of heat, so you need a cooler normally to cool down the limiting factor is normally your bearings. If you spin above 1500, the heat and the pressure on the bearings become too high. Of course, the higher you spin, the more you can pump. If you pump too much, the two liquids start to mix. Normally it's an issue to this. You need two immiscible solvents, and then you need two modifiers to increase or decrease. You want your analytes to be equally distributed, or almost equally, not exactly equally, so that as the solvents move in opposite directions, or normally one is stationary, one moves, there is some fractionation taking because the analyte is continuously being equilibrated. The one moves faster. The one is than the other one, or the others. This is typical examples. There are the conditions. You've got 4 components, and then you can start. You get a chromatogram, just like with HPLC. And this one, B, gave us 70 milligram, and it was subjected to another round with a different solvent, and we got these 2 compounds, acyl, glucoflavanols. These are 2 new compounds. Those are known compounds. There you see you can also see we put 1 gram in, and we got 35, 70, 450. Some of them we got pure. That one we got pure. There's 1 arrow. This one required some Cefadex or subsequent Cefadex to obtain pure compounds. This is the other 3 compounds. You can see it's basically the same theme. There's a methoxy there, a OH, and there's a methoxy there. So it's virtually the same thing. This is a bit more interesting. It's got 3 sugars, but it's a known compound. So this is compound 1. These 2, which differs there. How did we solve the structure? Of course, we start off with mass spectrometry to get the molecular formula. Acid hydrolysis required to get the sugar. Derivative to get the absolute configuration of the sugar. Point of attachment of the sugar to the acyl compound, which was also confirmed to be fumaric acid with basic hydrolysis. So to remove the sugar was acid, and to remove the acid. This is basically the NMR. There's the anomeric proton, which is that proton, which is normally a lot downshifted. We can use a coupling constant to say whether it's A or B. There's the 2, those 2, which are downshifted because they're attached to this electron withdrawing group. And yeah, this is our solid state. We can see the sugar. The sugar very characteristic of the sugar carbons, and of course the carbonyl, that one, which is conjugated, so it doesn't sit at 200 where you normally would expect it. This is just a simple one to say that one sits there. HMBC. And this is maybe more important. This is the carboxylic, the from the ester, and it correlates with that with C6, which we previously identified by chemical shift. It's confirmed by HMBC. We can also use mass spectrometry. In other words, here we use the 160 fragment, it's MS2, and here, which gave us that fractionation, not fractionation, breakdown product. And here we use coumaric acid. You can see the mass spectrum peak and the thing is the same. We also use HPLC because the reason for this is that we have very little material, so we couldn't isolate coumaric acid, and you subject it to NMR. Absolute configuration of sugars, spiking experiments. As you can see, the RF of glucose is very close to of D-glucose, and L-glucose are very close. So we decided to spike in any case with L-glucose to be absolutely sure that we've got the right compound, and there is the other two sugars. This is now in the mixture, because ideally you should take your individual compounds and hydrolyze them, but by the time we write the publication, we realized that some of those were not satisfactory, so we hydrolyzed the mixture. These are compounds 3 to 5. There's nothing special about them. This one is a bit more special because we needed to confirm the absolute configuration on those two carbons, which NMR cannot tell us. So we did the Ecd spectrum, which we compared to literature, so-called cotton effect. This is also more interesting because it's got 3 sugars, and we had to identify, as you can see, there's a lot of OH groups, and that, of course, fits in nicely with countercurrent. This is NMR. You can see 3 anomerics. There's the one, the other one, and the other one. Anomeric is attached to 2 oxygens, so it moves down in the NMR. This is the carbon. You can see a lot of at least 3 sugars in there. Hydrolysis of the sugar of 7 was the sugars themselves were identified, can be identified with TLC. In other words, there's the mixture, and that's rhamnose and xylose, glucose, and mass spectrometry is quite nice because it showed you loss of rhamnose, xylose, and the loss of 2 of them here, and the loss of all 3. So we can use, and then we tested some of the activities, antimicrobial activity. I am not a pharmacologist, so I'd rather not. It was done by collaborators, but there are the 3-4 different species with their results and the control. So we see we are not too bad in terms of our control. Antiplasmodial activity, I think from a previous talk we are, interesting or promising, very close to the optimal one. Interestingly, number 2 is very much different, and the only difference is the parametoxy on the B ring, which I'll come back, because quinone is much more. Interestingly, the radical scavenging activity was done in this way, and interestingly, that's a metoxy. If R is H, you've got a very good activity. If R is metoxy, you've got no activity. some medicinal chemistry. Of course, it's because of this quinone methite that can happen. I think strong evidence of the antioxidant, and of course the protic solvent, which needs to destroy the quinone methite. The PhD student was Kundu. He's actually from China, doing a PhD master's with us. This is a master thesis. Andrew Marston, I don't know whom of you know him. He was actually the main investigator. And the antimicrobial assays, Robin van Zyl, the antiplasmodial, Daniel did some, Ferreira did some of did the Ecd Spectrum for us. Acknowledgement, the University of Free State and this Muti project for financial assistance. I think that's it. So we catch you some time in case there are some questions.
Any questions?
So these compounds were extracted from the arils, right?
Yes.
So the arils were extremely yellow.
Yes.
So the compounds they isolated were they extremely yellow?
Yes, these two were yellow. Yes, there was attached to the sugar.
And normally in flavonol you see the 2S configuration, right? That's the normal, what you normally see. So the 2R, is that, do you think that's kind of unusual?
I'll have to look into that. But that is.
It's not impossible, but it's unusual.
Well, catechin has got the same. But this is not catechin. Catechin has also got 2R. Catechin has got exactly that configuration. So as I said, I'm not a phytochemist, so I cannot comment on that, but this is, in terms of generally in flavin 3-ols, this is common.
Any other question? Yes.
For compound 1, the acylated compound, is it a stable compound?
Yes, it's quite stable. This one?
Yes. Because I've isolated something similar, but the position is different. And we find that the coumaric film will be clean over time in the presence of water. So do you observe the same thing?
No, we didn't observe. We needed base to remove.
I'm just interested in the quantity of the arils that you used for extractions.
Yeah, we had a lot.
I can imagine you must have collected quite a few parts.
Yeah, as you can see, we got, as you can see from we started with 1 gram of extract and many of these many of these were repeated. Interestingly, I forgot to mention at that stage we reversed the phase. That's what you can do in countercurrent. Instead of pumping the upper layer, you pump the lower layer, so you can have a choice of which layer to pump. What can happen is I don't know whether they can cis strands there, but whether okay. Sorry.
Have you isolated or identified other mineral compounds?
Sorry?
The question is, did you isolate the minor compounds?
Well, in the extract there was not really minor compounds. This is what the HPLC looked like. So we didn't isolate those. Of course, this is after subsequent, when we've identified all the structures, we could make these assignments to the HPLC. Okay?
Compound 1 has pharmacognosy. The Roman experiments isomeric E or Z form. You have never such a experience. Usually, if the compound polyhydroxyflavonol group is standing in the refrigerator, the E easily isomeric to the Z form.
Yes. Yeah, we didn't have problems. As you can see, our NMR is quite clean. We've got a trans, if you've got trans, it's big, the coupling constant. If you've got cis or Z, it's small. And normally the trans is more stable in terms of flavonoids. I presume if you, in light, there might be some isomerization because UV light, cis trans isomerization is catalyzed by UV light.